Welcome to the Grower Pesticide Safety course. This is Chapter 15, How to Dispose of Pesticides and Pesticide Containers Safely. Chapter 15 starts on page 157 of the manual. There are 10 slides in this presentation, and it will take us about 8 minutes to review. What will I learn? By the end of this lesson, you should be ready to list the 3 steps of empty pesticide container recycling, describe how to dispose of different types of pesticide containers, describe the steps you must take to dispose of surplus pesticides and spray mix. There are 3 things you may need to dispose of: empty containers, surplus spray mix, and pesticides you no longer use. So let's go ahead and look at each one of these. First, we think about avoiding container disposal problems. So we're going to have to dispose of containers, but if we buy in bulk, and there's lots of pesticide products now offered as bulk refillable tote containers, and they can go back and be refilled and reused. So it's one way of avoiding having these containers left over. And also there are some products that are water soluble packaging, and these packages will drop into the spray tank and will dissolve, but you do have to follow the mixing and loading directions on the pesticide label and notice when they should be added and how much agitation is required, and you want to make sure that they dissolve properly and you mix and load them properly. But again, another way to avoid having lots of plastic jugs left over. Other thing we don't want to have too much of the pesticides left over. So keep an accurate inventory and mark the date of purchase on the container, and continue to use up your supply in your inventory. Buy only what you need for each season and accurately calculate the amount you need to mix. So you want to buy 10 containers or 3 containers, whatever the number. Make sure you're not buying more than you need, but you certainly want to buy the amount you need to make the application. All right, so barring all that, we will probably have some empty pesticide containers, and the empty containers still contain about 1% of the pesticide in the bottom, and so we do need to rinse that. So we've advocated for triple rinsing for quite a few years, and there's some steps to do for triple rinsing. The first step is to rinse, which is following the rinsing procedures. There's in your manual, there's a standard operating procedure for rinsing pesticide containers, and it has 10 steps. It's 10 steps, but here we're going to just go through that a little bit briefer, and you can look back into your manual for that graphic. So 10% full, so we want to fill that empty container back with about 10% of water. And then we're going to shake that around and rinse all the sides of that container, and then pour back that rinsate into the spray tank. And we're going to do that 2 more times to get the triple rinsing done. Okay, step 2 for recycling. We've got a cap, and we have maybe a plastic sleeve around that jug. So both of those cannot be sent to the pesticide collection site for recycling. They have to go to the garbage. So a paper, take that paper label and put that into your recycling. Take the cap off. The cap is of a different plastic. It can't go with that container either to recycling. So put that into garbage for disposal. The last part is taking them back to that pesticide collection site, and where they're gathered up into a big location that's locked and saved until they're going to the recycling depot and taken for plastic recycling. Some best practices, and let's review these. Use jet rinsing devices. These are okay to do, and so if you don't want to take the time of doing that triple rinse and filling each jug, you can buy jet rinsing devices. They are effective, take less time, So they would rinse for about 30 seconds and you've got the job done. You would just push it into the bottom of the container, and at the same time that's putting a hole in your container, which is what we want to do so that no one would ever want to use the product to carry a different liquid. So never reuse an empty pesticide container. The container looks clean, it may still have pesticide residues in it, so we want that hole in the container so no one can reuse it. So another good feature of those jet rinsing devices. Just mention that Clean Farms, they're the empty pesticide container recycling program, and they have a website you can go in to look at as well. So Clean Farms accepts the triple rinse, the plastic and metal containers for recycling, and they have over 200 sites in Ontario, and these sites, and the cost to the farmer is nothing. It's just a matter of getting your containers that are triple rinsed back to the collection depot. And you can see a picture here where all the containers are gathered up at the depot. And what they do is they take it to a site where the plastic will be recycled. And the recycling plastic over the years has gone into many different items, but here it is into a tile drainage plastic and used that way. All right, disposal of surplus spray mix. That's the other thing you'll have left over. You would want to first apply the surplus spray mix to another crop on the label. So if you're finished the field and you come to the end and you have some left over in the tank, if you have more soybeans that you can go into and finish that off, or corn or apples or whatever you have, then apply that surplus spray mix to another crop on the label. Or we can go over and respray that field we've just come out of if we dilute that spray mix down. And the recommendation for dilution is 10 parts of water with 1 part spray mix. So here is the gentleman refilling his tank with water so that he can go back out into the field and spray that diluted mix, exactly the same spot where he's come out of. Apply only to crops that are named on the label. Now you don't want damage to a crop that's not on the label. So, and then that of course also would be illegal. So make sure you're applying it to crops that are listed on that label. The next thing we have to get rid of, disposal of surplus pesticides. So we're storing some pesticides, we didn't use them the next year as well, so we realize we're not going to use this. We should get rid of that and clean up our inventory. So Clean Farms will have obsolete pesticide collection days, and they're offered free to farmers, and they're offered every 3 years in Ontario and usually in the fall. So look for that in September and October and check online at their website for dates. If you want to do it within that 3-year period and you can't wait for the obsolete pesticide collection day, environmental waste haulers can collect your pesticides and remove those for you. You would contact the waste removal company in your area, and you can just search the yellow pages for that. Your municipality may have a way to get rid of toxic hazardous waste. And hazardous waste disposal is different in each municipality across Ontario. You're going to have to phone and ask. You may know already if you have a regular day where hazardous waste is collected in your municipality. So ask how you could dispose of your leftover pesticides and see what's available. All right, so again, that would be disposal of containers, disposal of our spray mix, and disposal of surplus pesticides.